So I'm going to get Pia to come up and join us. The thing that you need to know about her is Pia Van Gelder is an overlord of Dorkbot Sydney. Now, Dorkbot is this very secretive organisation. There are only about, I understand, I have very good authority, there are some 100 overlords worldwide. Very secretive society. They probably control a lot of what you do. One of them possibly chose what you were wearing tonight. Not you, they did. And Pia's come out of hiding to share with us stuff about the maker. Please give her a massive round of applause. Welcome her up on stage.
Oh yeah, thank you. So I work at COFA lecturing, and I usually work in hour or 2 hour sort of time allotments. So I did find it a real challenge to kind of stick to the amount of time that I'm allowed. So I have actually written a speech. I've written a speech because I feel really passionate about this topic, and so I hope you'll bear with me and forgive me for reading to you. I'll try to be very animated while I do that. So I'm an electronic artist and a media archaeologist, and the founder and overlord of Dorkbot Sydney. I've spent the past 8 years organising this regular event for people doing strange things with electricity, where I have come to know many different people who are active in what everyone seems to be calling the maker movement. In order to understand where this movement might be heading, I feel it's important that we look back at its history. The maker movement is deeply rooted in counterculture, in DIY and open source movements that started as far back as the 1950s. And also, of course, the history of the hacker movement and their hacker spaces. So if you look up the phrase, what is a maker in Google, the Google Dictionary presents us with 2 possible definitions. One is a person or thing that makes or produces something. 2 is God. So I find it interesting, though, that the word hacker isn't even included in the synonyms for this definition. Because I've always believed, along with many others, that the terms are interchangeable, right? I'm starting to realise, though, that this is a point of difference, and this difference is presenting us with an interesting issue that reflects where the maker movement is moving. So a first point of call to understand what hacking means is, of course, Stephen Levy's seminal text from 1984 called Hackers, the Heroes of the Computer Revolution. The book includes an early history of computer and hardware hacking, where Levy describes hacking and as having a hands-on imperative, as Chris was illustrating for us before. And it also has a code of ethics by which many hackers still swear by today. They include access to computers and anything which might teach you something about the way the world works should be unlimited and total. Always yield to the hands-on imperative. All information should be free, mistrust authority, promote decentralization. And hackers should be judged by their hacking, not bogus criteria such as degrees, age, race, or position. But the word hacker goes further back than that. The first time it was used was in MIT University in the 1960s, where they had 2 kinds of students, tools or hackers. So tools were straight A students who spent their days diligently attending class or in the library, and hackers were students, of course, who never attended class, slept all day, and spent their nights pursuing recreational activities. So then later the word was picked up again, not to describe computer hacking, but instead to describe building hackers, or people who explore roofs and tunnels where they're not supposed to be. So this etymology presents a much broader, open and inclusive meaning of hacking, right? This meaning it doesn't just refer to computers, but rather any act that negates or subverts pre-existing systems, bureaucracies, or machines. People can be hackers of anything. People can be hardware hackers, you can be computer hackers, IKEA hackers, radio hackers, biohackers. If you can't open it, you don't own it, right? So Make Magazine's slogan, which was that, perfectly describes this methodology. What's interesting is that hacker, maker, these different names are playing the same game. So Stewart Brand, an influential figure in the counterculture movement, responsible for, you might know this guy, responsible for the very first publication on DIY approaches to living, Whole Earth Catalogue, was asked just recently about who carries the flag for counterculture today. He pointed to the maker movement. The makers, Brand said, take whatever we're not supposed to take and take the back off of, rip the back off and get our fingers in there and mess around. That's the old impulse of basically defying authority and of doing it your own way. End quote. So maker culture has been appropriating hacker ethics since its inception. And as Evgeny Morozov has pointed out, hacking itself seems to have been hacked. My question continues to be, if makers are making under the same ethics as hackers, and they're creating spaces just like hackers, maker spaces, having the same tools, activities, and objectives as hacker spaces, then why aren't we just calling ourselves hackers? Perhaps it's the political stigma that now surrounds the word hacker in our contemporary climate. The maker movement, just like the counterculture movement, is a collective effort to come to grips with the social, political, and cultural meaning of production and consumption, and our very way of existing in this world. If the maker movement is going to become anything other than a new consumer paradigm, it will reclaim the word hack and educate people about its important values by continuing to make spaces for creative innovation outside of institutional and commercial influence, by empowering people of all ages and socio-economic backgrounds to be curious, fearless, and radical, and by making not just stuff, but also open source tools for people to make and hack freely. So I would propose that you don't just make or produce stuff, but you hack stuff. Thank you.